Hello, welcome to the It's All Good show. Lucas here for a chat. My name is Denise Belisle, and I'm a serenity expert and positive intelligence specialist. Today, I have the honor to have Wendy Bergen. She's a transformational solution coach, and I'll have her on coming up in a little bit. But before I start, I want to let you know why I call this show It's All Good. It's mainly because of my favorite cup that says it's all good. And also, it's something that I've developed to say all the time. Whether things are good or bad, I always say it's all good. And why do I say that? Well, if it's something from the past, I can't change it, right? Have you ever tried to change something from the past? I have. Can't change it. Doesn't work. And if it's something in the future, I can't really predict the future. I can anticipate, and which is a lot of time problem in people's mind is they anticipate the future too much. You can plan, you can organize in according to what you need in the future, but things might go out of whack and you don't know. Things happen. You can't change that. So the best place to be is right here, right now, and say what? It's all good. So also I would like to invite you to subscribe to my YouTube channel, which is YouTube/ at Denise Belisle. And in there, you'll see all the previous interviews that I have done for the last year and a half. Today's show, I think it's number 83. Let me check here. I think 83 or 84, like it's so many of them, so almost a year and a half. So I invite you to go and check that out at my YouTube channel. And if you want to be on my show or if you want to have a conversation with me, just book a call with me, which is Denise, uh, talk with Denise at tiny.cc. So enough for commercial about me. So without any further delay, just let's welcome Wendy Bergen and let's introduce her. So welcome, Wendy. I'm so happy to have you on my show.
Denise. Yeah, thanks.
That's great. So tell me, Wendy, transformational coach. So what do you do, and what
Transformational solution coach.
solution coach?
Yeah, well, because, we all want solutions,
Find
right?
solution, absolutely. So tell me a little bit more about how you got to become a transformational solution coach and who you are.
Well, I became a transformational solution coach years ago because I constantly take transformational courses and people would gravitate to me and ask me questions and I would coach them. And eventually I made that my living. But I
Great.
used to
Yeah.
do it for free. For many
Yeah.
years, I did it for free.
Many of us did for sure.
Yes, and when you get to be my age, you've lived a few years. I come from a background of quite a bit of violence, and I was in and out of foster care,
Mhm.
and um, my and then I go back to my dad, and I didn't know where my real mom was, and just lots of things like that happened. And when I left home at the age of 15, I left home to save my life.
Mm.
My father was being quite physical, inappropriately in many ways, on top of, using work boots and fists. And one day I just thought, if I stay one more day, I'm not going to live. So I left and I was really angry, just like angry. And then in my middle 20s, I took a course called Landmark Worldwide, and
Mm.
it opened my eyes to that I did not have to live my life from my circumstances,
Yeah.
that I could actually design my life. And I've had to do, a lot of different work to release some of those limiting beliefs.
Yeah.
But I'm grateful because, at the age of 26, I was able to buy my own 6-bedroom home and just outside of Vancouver, BC. And most women that age didn't do that.
Yeah.
And it was all from shifting my perception of who I was. I started being an entrepreneur and running businesses. My first business was a bookstore. and it was quite successful, and I sold it, and then I just kept trying different things. And so I have business experience, and I've raised 2 adult children. I'm a grandma,
Wow, yeah, that's magnifico.
I have lots of experience in life. Life keeps lifing, and I have a podcast, Thriving at 60, and if it's when you get handed lemons, how fast can you make lemonade?
Yeah, yeah. Oh,
So
that's
yeah.
great.
And I'm certified. I'm a best-selling author of a book called Getting Unstuck. It's on Amazon. And Brian Tracy, if anybody knows him, he's quite famous. He endorsed my book, and so did Kevin Harrington from Shark Tank. Um, they I wrote them and sent them a copy of my book, and they endorsed it and sent the stuff back. It was just like, oh my goodness,
That's awesome.
So yeah, so that's neat. And I'm certified to lead a course, and this is really. Uh, I love working with women to reclaim their power,
Mm,
and especially if they're facing adversity, because I've faced a bit of
yeah.
adversity through my lifetime. And I show women how to restore their power and to take consistent, active actions to create stronger relationships in business and their personal life, regardless of their circumstances. And, I have people over the last many years have been saying, what has you, regardless of what you deal with, you seem to have power. And I think it's because I'm always in transformational work,
Mm.
um, and I constantly have coaches myself to, have breakthroughs. And so I started a 21-day challenge, which has been really successful, called uh, being being unstoppable, getting unstuck.
Mm.
And people are getting a lot out of it. Like it's I get them to pick an area of life they want to cause momentum or a breakthrough, and then be in action, being unstoppable regardless of their circumstances. And then I give them steps to do that, and I coach them. They have access to me daily for the 21 days, and they produce amazing results. Like it's so rewarding for me, anyways, when people they're stopped and then they face their fears and get that they can have fear and walk alongside it.
Yeah, I
Like,
think I think when people, especially if you put them in a program for 21 days and every day you're with them and you have an exchange, the transformation that can happen when people really put the effort into making a change can be
yes.
really amazing in 21 days what someone can accomplish.
Well, I tell them this is not an easy challenge.
Mm-hmm.
Let me have a little sip of water here. I tell them they need to set aside at least an hour every day.
Yeah.
And if they can't, don't do the challenge. Like, I'm really firm around that. And and they get to do it with whoever's in it. Like, there could be 10 people in it, there could be
Yeah.
30.
Yeah.
And they get to speak in the group, and they make lasting friendships out of it, because they face, the first few days I get them to look at what are they really committed to, because um, I don't know about you, but there's areas of my life I'll say things, but I don't have them happen, and yet amazingly, there's many areas where I make them happen.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
so I invite people to look at what's your unhidden commitment. What's your hidden commitment?
Yeah.
And like for an example, just to give a easy example, I had a woman I was coaching. She hired me. This was many years ago. She was one of my first paying clients,
Yeah.
and I asked a decent amount of money. And the first month, she hired me for 3 months to release weight, even though I'm not a weight coach. But she'd seen me coaching for
She needed
years.
accountability. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And so she hired me. And the first month, she didn't show up at her meetings. She, all this stuff. And so finally, after, a month, I said to her, you know, what are you committed to here? Because you're obviously not committed to fitting it, because she had bought a dress and she wanted to fit into this dress. She
Uh-huh.
could have
Uh-huh.
easily bought a bigger dress, but
Yeah,
no,
of
no.
course.
She
That was
wanted
her
to fit
goal.
into
Yeah.
this dress, right? So, and we started looking at what she was doing day to day. She's quite a wealthy woman and runs $1 million, more than $1 million company. And every day on the way to work, she was buying donuts and then um, bringing them to. And so we got to where her hidden commitment was. She was 5 years old. I just want to do what I want. I shouldn't have to. Be disciplined here. You know. And when we got to what her hidden commitments were, we just started laughing. So I just said to her, well, you get to choose. You've got, 2 more months now, whether you're going to fit into, is this realistic? Or, anyway, she recommitted and fit into the dress.
Perfect. Perfect.
But it
So she
was
could
like,
have hired you only for 2 months.
we did some more work after, but it was just interesting how when you can get to your hidden commitment, you can actually re-choose, because you may be verbally saying something, but you're really not committed to it.
Yeah. So I'm curious to know, tell me a little bit about your book and when did you publish it?
I think I published it 3 years ago, and here I have a copy right here. Here it is.
There you go, Getting Unstuck.
Yeah, Getting Unstuck. Oh,
Yeah,
yeah,
get a bit
Getting
fuzzy, but
Unstuck.
yeah.
Yeah, 30 ways to turn your limiting barriers into clarity, freedom, and power. Um, well, I wrote this book because people had kept saying, like, you do this podcast, you do this, why don't you have a book out? And I thought, well, what could I write about? And I was in a mastermind in the States, and the coach said, well, you've got some pretty interesting topics on your podcast. Why don't you pick some of them? And so,
Make it a chapter. Yeah.
yeah, and so I picked 30 of the best little stories, because I don't have long episodes.
Yeah.
And so the longest page in the book is the longest chapter is 3 pages, and the
Mhm.
shortest is 1 page. But what I made it is I asked specific questions after the chapter. I ask you to take a half an hour and answer these uh, questions authentically.
Yeah.
And my promise is that if you answer those questions authentically, you will not stay stuck.
Mhm.
You will move forward in that area.
Yeah, that's
And
what
that,
often happen, right? Like people, there, it's like the lady that you were talking about not eliminating her weight, and she was not committed, right? There was something that was holding her back, and but you see that a lot. Like if people are actually committed and they do the work that needs to be done in order to reach their success, and no matter what, then they will succeed and they will have something to show for. And but it's not always easy for people. They always
no,
have all
it's
the excuses in the world for
well,
not.
it's not. Well, they might have excuses, but they're blind to something. Like she was blind to that she had a real young age conversation. I shouldn't have to be this disciplined. Other people can eat and they don't put weight. Like it was a real young, childish conversation, but it was there for her and she hadn't seen it.
Mm,
And so when you have a coach and the coach, if you have a coach that's judging you, fire them. Don't have a coach that judges you. Have a coach that has compassion, that they
mhm.
can see behind why you're taking the actions you're taking, because it's like you need that support. Like, because you're blind to something, it's maybe really obvious. Like, that's why I have coaches. If you have a coach, find out if they have a coach. If they don't have a coach, don't hire them.
Yeah.
Seriously, it's the same as a therapist. You hire a therapist. If my sister's a therapist, and they have to go to at least once a month to another therapist.
Mm-hmm.
And if they don't, so when you hire a therapist, if you say, "Well, do you have a therapist?" and they say no, don't go to them because they're
Mm-hmm.
not getting stuff out and
Yeah.
really work right.
Yeah, it's
So
like if it's like the old story of having a shoemaker with holes in his own shoes, right?
yeah,
you
yeah,
gotta you gotta eat your own soup. You gotta do the things with other people. Like like I have coaches too, right? I have,
yeah.
we all, not all of us, but like a lot of us coaches do have coaches, just like you
Well,
mentioned.
I
So
would
it's really
hope so
important.
because we don't know everything and we want to grow. Like
Mm,
I mean, I've been taking transformational courses for over 50 years.
yeah,
And for me, it's like the air I breathe. It's like I find it fascinating to keep learning what are my blind spots. If I'm being held back in any area of my life, I'm blind to something.
yeah,
That's all. It's not that I'm bad or not committed or anything. I just totally blind. And
yeah,
all of a sudden, it's like if you look at an artist doesn't see green. They see 30 shades of green, right?
yeah,
Well, where when you hire a coach, they see the other shades that you can't see, and it can be right in front of you. Like
yeah,
it was right in front of this woman. She's brilliant. She's brainy. She's got a couple of well, the amount of money she makes is amazing, and the company she runs, and yet that's something so obvious
yeah,
wasn't because she just was blind to it. And when we discovered it, she got to choose freely, like, oh, I could go buy another dress in another size, or I could release the weight because I want to look this great for my husband.
yeah,
And she got to choose freely. And once she got the blind spot out of the way and chose, then she was committed.
yeah. And what I see also is that blind spot. Like you said, that it was she didn't want to be told what to do in some ways, in
Yeah,
some way. But also
yeah,
what that
nobody's going to
created,
tell me what to do.
there's pro and con to that, because I'm sure that's what led her to be so successful in some ways,
Absolutely,
right? Because she
absolutely.
didn't listen to everybody that said, "A woman can't do that. You can't do this. You can't do that." And it was like, nobody's telling me what to do. I'm moving forward, but at the same time, applying that to not eating different type of food and things like that, that was counterbalancing. So it's good to have driven factors, but don't let those factors hold you back and
Yes,
stop you from creating other things in your life.
yes. And it's interesting in life. Like there's many things that stop us, and we're totally blind. Like I was in a 3-day workshop this weekend, and I saw something around business that I hadn't seen. Like I've seen it, but I've never seen it,
Yeah,
or
yeah,
applied it to me, and it was just like, oh, I was able to simplify something in my business that I hadn't simplified. And it's just when people share something differently or give a story behind it, or like I inspire women because I've gone through divorce and had all my money taken and had to restart, and I've left home and you know
15
held
years.
down 3 jobs and put myself through high school and college. And like it isn't like I've been able to how do you call that, go through some challenges and come out the other end powerful, and
Yeah,
not get stopped in the because there was some challenging times. I promise you, when 10 years ago my former husband and I split, he made sure I had no money, and he took my name off all the bank accounts. I don't know how he did that, but we won't go there. But I had to start again. And I lived in my car, and I had a little 13-foot bowler, and I didn't even have enough money to pay rent at a campground.
uh-huh.
And so I would park on streets well lit
Yeah.
at night and sleep in there and then go out. And I created, you know, took them to Supreme Court, and it took me 5 years, and so I created some other work, but it's just amazing, like, because I had been at home being a mom, running our businesses, so I wasn't
Hmm.
outside working like I would, so for 20 some odd years I'd been raising the kids and running our businesses,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
right? And so and I thought, well, he's still the father of my children, so I'm not going to dish him or make, he had some fears and he did what he did. Now we have a great relationship. He's involved. He's engaged to get married to another woman. I love his partner. She's awesome. Um, but it took something for me, uh, how he left me, which
Yeah.
was really inappropriate, um, to work through what I had to work through to come out being powerful regardless.
Yes,
That was,
I appreciate that because I've met women and some men that after a divorce they stay stuck there in the
yes.
feeling of being used, being abused, being like they stay stuck in the negative, right? And they never want to talk to their ex-spouse again. They want to do nothing with them. They're never forgiving, they're never forgetting, they get stuck in the past, and what
Well,
that
it's
does is it creates so much pressure inside and
Well,
aggressivity.
it's really hard on the children. I mean, it doesn't matter how old our children are. Like, I've been diagnosed with stage 4 cancer. I was diagnosed last summer,
Mm,
and they told me it's incurable, and that there was nothing they could do. Now, I don't believe that. I'm doing some outside stuff, and
yeah.
um, but my children, it's really important on my granddaughter's birthday and at Christmas that their dad and I are in the same room.
Hmm.
And I think that's what parents forget is like you have it's just like
It's a bond, right?
we had Christmas together at my youngest daughter's home where my granddaughter is,
Yeah.
and his I think it's his fiance now. She's a wonderful, wonderful woman. You know what I was able to say to her the last couple of years? Thank you for being so loving towards my children. Because
Yeah.
my children are 34 and 26, but they still need to be respected and loved. And if you're
Absolutely.
not getting
Absolutely.
along with your exes, so what's really neat is that we can all spend time together.
That's
It's
great. And then
and
it
we're not,
doesn't make it uncomfortable for the children, right? We
no.
have to make two dinners because mom and dad won't want to meet. And when are we inviting dad? When are we inviting mom? And it gets it very complicated, right?
Yeah, and I'm so glad that because of who I am, I created that, because I
Yeah.
promise you my former was not going to have that happen.
Yeah, but it goes with all the knowledge that you accumulated over the
Yes.
years with the
Yeah.
Landmark Forum and everything else that you've done that made you work. Last week, I had Alkarim Chatour. I don't know if you met him in our group. He's one of the coaches, but he was saying that he's an entrepreneur and he goes inside, like work inside out, like heal the inside first in
Yes.
order to heal what you have outside. And I think that's so important. We all need to work on the interior, like the things that are
Absolutely.
bugging us inside, and resolve these because these are killers, right?
Well, what I had to look at is I chose this man,
Yeah.
right? I chose him. And I was blind to some patterns why I chose him. And so I couldn't he wasn't much different than before, and I still
Mhm.
chose him.
Yeah.
So who's the sick one, him or me, right? Like I had to go, like, okay. So you got to have a sense of humor, right? Like,
Yeah.
I mean, I didn't have a sense of humor at the beginning. I was pretty
Yeah,
scared.
no, you get hurt, but then
Yeah.
you do what you have to do in order to move
Yeah.
past it
Yeah.
and and
And in
and
it
get that out.
Well, I come from an alcoholic background, so I when I as an adult I joined Al-Anon, which is a 12-step program for people whose lives have been
Mm-hmm.
affected by alcoholism.
Yeah.
And one of the things that they taught me was to detach with love instead of claw marks. And because I was so sick mentally at times and didn't even see it. Like I would, if you gave me a hard time, I would hunt you down and leave my claws on you rather than just detach with love, right? So I learned all sorts of things in that program between Landmark and Al-Anon and all the other programs. I learned to let go and let God, and how important is it? And
Yeah.
when I look at my granddaughter,
How
and
old is
because
she now?
she's almost 6. But you know what? I allow, like, my former didn't spend a lot of time with the kids. It was a woman's job. And when we split, he wasn't spending time with my daughters and our daughters. And I brought it up to him, uh, you know, I was babysitting my granddaughter. I think she was about 2. And I said, you need to start babysitting. And why? What? I wouldn't know what to do, and blah, blah, blah. And I goes, well, why don't you come down for a couple of afternoons? He lived an hour and a half away, still does. And I'll show you, because your granddaughter and your daughter need you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now, if I hadn't have shifted, I wouldn't have wanted to share my but but what's neat is that my granddaughter gets to say, Papa Bergen, he took, and Grandma Deanna, like she just loves the two of them.
Oh,
But
that's
that
awesome.
opens up something for my granddaughter that wouldn't
Yeah.
have been available. And my former's this great person in nature, and they have bees and all this stuff. Like, he's got lots of good qualities, and my granddaughter gets to be loved by her papa,
Yeah. It's
right?
so huge.
And I think so. Yes, we can hold on to stuff. Yes, things shouldn't have been done that were done, but in the end, let go and let God.
It's
And
all good.
yeah, yeah, and I'm so thrilled because my granddaughter and my daughter feels so loved and valued from her
Yeah.
dad. And
Yeah.
that wasn't available because he was, he was
Distance.
holding, he's a man, he was holding back. He didn't think, he thought that once they're adults, they don't need you. No, they need you as adults. They
Yeah,
need to know they
absolutely.
can count on you,
Yeah.
And so, when I can't watch her, I call him and Deanna up and say, hey, are you available this day and this day? Because I can't watch her. And they help, and they love it. They get as much joy as my granddaughter gets out of it.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, for sure, for sure. Like my sisters are both grandparents right now. I never had kids, so I will not be grandparents. Well, both my sisters are grandparents and, well, grandmother, I guess they're,
Yeah.
but then they anytime, yeah, I'll take care of your kids. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'll go take care of them. I'll have them over for a day or two if you have to go out of town or whatever
Yeah.
that is. And
Yeah. So I
I'm
think
more than happy to be there because it's such a joy to see those little being. And and on my end I would say, and then you can give them back because
yes. Well, that's the good thing after because I watch my granddaughter a few days a week,
yeah,
and it's nice to have her, and then it's nice
it's
to
nice when
say
she
goodnight.
leaves. Well, it's a lot of work, right? Because when you're
Well,
grandparents, you don't have the energy of a 30 years old to be a parent, right?
no,
So
and my granddaughter is a delight to be with, so I'm lucky about that. But she has her tantrums and everything else.
yeah, yeah.
It's like,
Tell,
and
tell me a little
I
bit.
go
Tell
ahead.
me a little bit about who you serve in your business. Let's go back to your business because we could talk
Okay.
grandkids all day. So, who you
Oh
serve
yes,
in your
we could.
business?
We could. Well, when I look at my business, like the challenge, I just had a couple of doctors go through this challenge, and one, what he was burning out, and he was experiencing procrastination, and now he has more energy, and he's enthusiastic. And I get them to look at their limiting beliefs, and he couldn't believe some of the stuff that stopped him. Right. Um, I I I have this one man that I worked with, and he is now crystal clear on his his target audience, and he had been in business for a while, and he just wasn't sure what his target audience was. Right. And these are like testimonials, right? Um,
So are you working mostly with high-end professionals? Are you working with women, with men, with
Well, I work with men and women, and
okay,
my ideal is women who are
okay,
starting over, whatever whether they're starting over in a relationship or starting over in a new business,
okay.
or they're facing adversity somewhere in their life, and they want to alter that. And like I do work with men. I mean, I coach engineers and everything else, but I love working with women because
Yeah.
my mission in life is that all children on the planet thrive and flourish, and that they're loved, appreciated, valued, and respected. And if the women are grounded,
Mm-hmm.
when they're not grounded, they take out their stuff on their children
Yeah.
without even realizing it,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
But when they're grounded, that their children flourish and thrive. And so, my whole thing is like, if I coach women, well, and I do coach men, but I prefer working with women because they're my soft spot.
Yeah.
And not that I would refuse to work with the men,
Of
because I've
course. Of course.
made huge differences with men, but it's like, yeah, like when I see these women I work with, and their children's lives are altered because the women have worked with me.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's really rewarding, especially coming from my background.
Yeah. And being International Women's Day on Wednesday,
Yes.
what thought do you have on that, and what message would you have for women?
To create um, a structure of women supporting you, powerful women
Mm.
supporting you, and make a list, have at least 10 women, and keep asking. Going through this journey of releasing cancer, I have every day of the week, I have someone that will support me, someone powerful, and I had to make phone calls and say, this is what I've been diagnosed with. They say there's no cure. I say I'm going to release it, and I need your powerful commitment with me, to align with me. And I had to call a few people, but I call someone different every day, once a week, right? So and they've been alongside my journey since July, and it has me stay powerful, especially in the face of some days. I have some really rough days,
Mm, of
and
course.
so I don't know if it's appropriate to say this, but years ago,
Everything goes.
okay, years ago, I was told by a woman, men will pat your ass and women will save your ass.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So I've always tried to cultivate women, because we can work together. We can,
Yeah.
leverage work together. We don't have to be in competition.
Yeah.
We can find ways to even work with our competitors. We don't have to be afraid, because we're all unique in our own way, right?
Mm.
And we
So,
have,
so your recommendation is to, if you don't have, like for women that are listening right now, if you don't have a tribe, a community of women that
yes,
you can count on, that you can call on anytime and get support, or you can support in return, right? It's not just
yes.
all one way. You
Yeah.
kind of have
Well,
an
you know what?
exchange there.
The people that I talk to on a daily basis, we have a half-hour call once a
Yeah.
day, the different people, is they get as much out of it as I do.
Yeah,
It
of
isn't
course.
one way. And women can, if you don't, you can go on Zoom and create once a week. Like, you can have your support team. They don't have to be like right in your neighborhood, because
Yeah,
we
yeah.
have Zoom and all sorts of, WhatsApp. You can create a group of women where you get together and support each other on Zoom for an hour, having powerful, intentional conversations.
Yeah.
You know, I have a group of women that we call ourselves, we've all done Landmark Ladies Lounge. And we meet every Friday afternoon at 2 p.m. Pacific,
That's
5
great.
p.m. Eastern. And we share what our intention is for the week
Yeah,
and what we caused the week before. And we're just supporting each other, right?
it's amazing. That's pretty amazing. And I have a group similar to that. We've been meeting now since 2.5 years that we've been meeting once a week, and we're meeting change time from time to time, but there's at least four of us that always shows up, and that's what we do too. Same thing, right? We talk about what went well, we talked about what didn't go so well, we kind of support one another in all the
Yeah.
area, and we help one another, we give advice, we seek advice, so it's very important to have these people around you that can support you, because you never know when you'll be able to change someone's life because of your insight, and you never know when you're going to need that support and get it from that tribe. So it's very
Yeah.
important to have that.
Well, I think it's really important that we have people we can share with our experience, strength, and hope, because we don't have to be on all the time either, but we need to
Mm,
be able to say what we normally can't say. Um, I learned this a long time ago in Al Anon, because I was a member of Al Anon when I was in my 20s, and I've continued, is we're only as sick as our secrets.
mm,
And when I can get what I need to say out, then nobody can mess with me. I don't have to hide anything. I don't have to be afraid. Um, and I think we need to be able. It's not like we have to share with everybody,
yeah,
but we need to be able to share confidential stuff with people we can trust, so that we don't get that we're. I think what has us get sick sometimes
it's a
is
buildup, right? It's
yes,
all this negativity that we keep in, that we feel that no one can understand me, I can't say that to anyone, I can't share, and when you feel like that, you just feel repressed, and
yeah,
then it becomes like a big balloon, right? It became
yeah,
so big that what make people go crazy is when that balloon burst, and then it's like, where did that come from?
yeah, yeah. Some people, like, they don't, oh, I can't share that because what will people think? Well, if they think lowly of you, they're not worth having. Like really, like you people, they need to love the good, the bad, and the ugly of you. Like it's like I'm not perfect, and yet I have some incredible friends, and I can say almost anything,
Yeah, yeah,
and not
not
uh,
feeling that you're going to be judged.
no, yeah.
Yeah,
So if people are judging you, be straight with them. It's like, are you judging me? Because like I'm not feeling valued right now. If you are,
yeah,
or just release them and find somebody else that will uh, appreciate you regardless that you did
yeah,
something they didn't like. Like, I have a sister that did something that I didn't like, and affected the whole family. And so I addressed it. And it was private. And I told her what my experience of was. And I said, I won't take my love away from you,
mm,
but don't you ever do that again.
yeah,
Like,
yeah,
and like you got it. And that sister loves me and adores me. I love and adore her. And we weren't raised together, but I've learned to tell people what I need to say in a loving, respectful way, and not
yeah.
step over things, right?
Well, I
Because
can see that with your experience with your ex-husband, right? Like the way you handle the situation, because it didn't end really well. You were in a
no,
big
it didn't end well at all.
problem, right? You were in big problem and big help. You needed a lot of help, and but after a while, you forgive and you moved on, and you realize that that man was important in the life of your children and grandchildren
Absolutely. He's
and
yeah,
grandchild, and then like, if I don't mend the relationship, it's always going to be broken, so you took
yes.
on yourself to do that.
Well, it's interesting that you said that, because I've been listening to some people, like, they're still angry. And one of the things that I think has people be angry at one another is they don't get complete. There's
Hmm.
something in the relationship that they either feel they can't speak or they've spoken it and they haven't been heard. They've been like, oh, that's not true, whatever. But if
Yeah.
you can get complete, there won't be any more resentments or anger. And it
Yeah.
takes, like, it isn't like some situations take a while to get complete. Like one conversation might not be enough. But if you both go at it with a commitment to say everything that you need to say, and I'm not saying, dump and barf and blame each other. But when you can say the things that you haven't been able to say to get complete and be
Yeah.
heard and valued and respected, you finally get complete and then there's nothing left.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, yeah, it goes with the fact that when you say, people, like, whenever you have anger or not complete with someone, it's like taking a poison pill and hope the other one will get sick, right?
yeah, but because sometimes it doesn't even, the person can be out of your life for years, but as soon as you think of them, you're like, rah!
Oh.
Well, you're obviously not complete.
No,
So
for
you
sure.
need a coach or someone
Yeah,
who's experienced in that kind of speaking, that
yeah,
you can say what you need to say to get complete, because you may
yeah.
not be able to say it to that person.
But at least you heal yourself, and that's the most
Yes.
important. And I think we need to
Yes.
wrap it up. As we said, we
Okay,
could talk
great.
for an hour. So how can people reach you? I'm going to put a little ticker there, but how can people reach you if they want to talk to you? So they can send you an email or call you,
Or,
text you.
well, they can go to Wendy at wendybergen.com, or they can go to my web page, which is wendybergen.com,
Okay.
and they can book a complimentary half-hour session with me. Just tell me that they listen to this live, and they can bring up a problem, and I'll create at least one action they can take so they're not stuck there.
Wonderful.
That's my
Wonderful.
promise to them.
That's an amazing gift that you're giving there, because
Mhm.
if people can at least be moving in one direction in their life and being able to get unstuck somewhere and then understand the idea of how that's happening, if they don't hire you, at least they can repeat the process, right? Like, work on
Absolutely.
repeating the process for themselves, and when they realize they don't do it as well as with you, then they can call you back.
Yeah, yeah. But yeah, no, it's all about getting complete so you can have some freedom and power.
Wonderful. So thank you so much, Wendy, for being here with me.
Thank you.
I appreciate you enormously, and your story and the way you handle your life and the responsibility you took on yourself, become responsible for what happened to you. I think it's the number one key for happiness and success, for sure.
Well, thank you. And it helps you keep unstuck.
Absolutely. So stay
Yeah.
there. I'll be right back with you. Oh, we
Okay.
have a comment. Let's see what the comment is. Um, it's Alan. Alan, he said, interesting, as a mindset coach, I will have to start writing my mindset book, although I am already writing my life story. So that's, yeah, I mean, every coach has a story inside of them.
Yes,
Thank
we
you so much,
all,
Alan, for
even if
sharing.
you're not a coach, you have a
Yeah,
story.
we all have our stories. So
Hmm.
thank you, Wendy. I'll be right back with you. So thank you everyone for watching the show. Here's my mic. And I hope you got some gems in there, because Wendy is absolutely amazing. All the information that she shared. If you came late to the show, go back to the beginning and watch from the beginning. And I invite you, as I mentioned earlier, to subscribe to my YouTube channel. You can go to youtube.com/at Denise Belisle, and you will be notified, and click on the little bell and you'll be notified every time I have a video. And you can also book a call with me if you want to know more about my business. I help people to also get unstuck in their own ways. I change your mindset, and I'll help you shift from crisis to oasis so you can finally live the life that you deserve with joy and happiness. So happy Women's Day. I'll have a video on Wednesday for you, for those that are watching on Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, and Twitter. And I will wish you happy Women's Day for women. And if you're a man, well, happy Men Supporting Women's Day. Have a wonderful week. Goodbye. See you next week.